We're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today we're focused on Star Trek Discovery's latest and greatest episodes, Season 4, Episode 3, Choose to Live. Oh, hold on, I meant to do this. Choose to live. There we go. Welcome. Hello, audience. We already have a couple people in the view screen up. Well, you guys can't see that. It's all my dashboard here. Say hello if you're in the chats. We're joined by Matt Ricks today. You changed your name from Juzel Ricks because it's more...
I don't know.
Recognizable?
It's whatever ends up being thrown on. Yeah.
I like it. I do like Matt Ricks. It's very cool. This is now, you've incorporated, you've gone from being non-corporeal to incorporated into your new Picard style body. So
Yeah, this is all fake. 100% synthetic.
And we have our shipyard bar patron here, who's been a shipyard bar patron for 14 years.
Apparently. Going strong.
Going strong. Welcome. And Marcelo, welcome. How are you guys doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You ready to talk about this episode of Star Trek Discovery? I know I saw some of y'all have some thoughts already, which is really exciting. Oh, while I do that, let me put up the spoiler warning, because otherwise people get mad that we didn't put the spoiler warning. But we're not doing episode summaries for Star Trek Discovery. We're trying something new on Star Trek Discovery. So, Paul, why don't you kick it off with your thoughts on the episode?
Okay, so I think there was some really good stuff in here. I really appreciated the pacing. It felt kind of like a feature film with all the, all the continuing storylines. That being said, I think it was also like a dumping ground for a bunch of stories, like the Gray gets his body storyline, and it seemed like they're done with Booker, being having guilt over the destruction of Quajon. And, I'll just say that, like, the whole Kuat Malat storyline is poorly executed as it was. Could have been an entire episode into itself, and there was, like the seed of a really good episode in there. So I did enjoy all the stuff on the moon. I like that stuff.
The moon, yeah, it was pretty cool. I wonder how Book is going to be, but that Tarina, she's like the president of Navarre. She's got like mega power. She probably was able to she probably took all his pain. She looked pretty affected to me.
That could have been an episode itself. Too,
it's true.
Dealing with actually resolving his issues for, more just a couple of minutes inside an episode that's crammed full of a bunch of other stories.
Do you think Tarina was like channeling Cybok? She was like, give me your pain, like I can take it away, and she did some kind of crazy like.
I got strong T'Pol vibes from her on.
Oh, too.
I was just missing T'Pol.
What about you, Matt? What'd you think?
I mean, I'll have a lot, but specifically for Book's case, I thought it was nice that we got to get kind of, wrapped up with his, arc of watching his planet get destroyed. But at the same time, it was like, oh, how cute! What you'd been missing was there all along. Like, it was just the love of your planet that you didn't tap into. Like, you still lost your entire family, and you're an emotions-based person. So, I'm hoping this isn't the last. Because if we're gonna I feel like Discovery's whole thing is that you get a more gritty look at things like PTSD and more like a real approach to life rather than like a Star Trek utopia where you have these traumatic things and then the next episode everyone's fine. So I'm hoping that this isn't, which seems weird to say, especially for Discovery, but I'm kind of hoping that this isn't the end of it. That he does it keeps coming back and he has to brace himself because that's a hugely traumatic thing. And if we're gonna destroy a planet, really say what you will about some of the different storylines, a whole planet doesn't usually get destroyed unless it's a minor colony or something like that with a couple 100,000 people that got assimilated by the Borg or that Cisco killed from orbit. Usually we don't have an entire planet get cracked open. So I'd like to hope that does actually feed, but On the flip side of that, kind of piggybacking, the whole thing with Stamets, I am so sick of. This man should not be an officer. He should not be a representative of the Federation. It should be very clear to anyone he has any interaction with that he is a master scientist, and that is it. Because his diplomacy with the Vulcans on Navarre, his like, no, I can't let you do that. I have to take full responsibility because I'm a scientist. The whole thing is getting a little much. Like, eventually you have to just realize that your neuroses are getting in the middle of like your job as an officer. I'm sorry, soapbox done. I cannot stand Stamets. I can't stand Stamets. I've never been able to handle this character, and I feel like it got better a little bit, and now it's just back to being bad. Anyway, someone else.
All right, we'll come back to Stamets. That was a good little summary there. Marcelo, what did you think, sir?
I did not particularly enjoy the storyline between Gray and Dal. I thought it was like useless.
Adira.
I thought you
Dal?
Adira, thank you. Sorry.
I was gonna say, was Dal in the episode? That's so cool.
No.
He lives for
Who's Dal?
1,000 years. Like,
sorry. Yes. I did not appreciate the storyline between Gray and Adira. I thought that storyline could have been compressed or removed entirely. I really liked the main storyline with the Quat Malat, Burnham, and Tilly. I really liked that. I didn't really care for the Stamets storyline going to Navarre and trying to find out about this radiation. I understood why the writers did it from a story standpoint to sort of allow Booker this avenue to sort of get rid of his grief, but like there could have been a better way to do that. Like the Vulcan president could have done that from Discovery. She could have came on Discovery and done the Vulcan mind thing on Discovery. They didn't have to go to Navarre to do that bullshit. So
well, I mean,
sorry.
I think well, I only watched the episode once, but I thought it made sense that like Stamets was already going to go to Vulcan, so Navarre, I keep calling it Vulcan, but was going to Navarre, and like that was going to be a thing that like maybe we wouldn't have seen even. Like he just goes to Navarre and he comes back and he's like disappointed. But because Book is so obsessed with trying to do something to like figure out what happened so that it doesn't happen to others, but also to kind of like, assuage his feelings of guilt, just like we follow that. I felt like it was Book story more than Stamp. Like I felt like the Navarre stuff was background for what ended up happening to Book.
See, okay, here I have to put this in here, and because it's the crux of what I can't stand about Discovery, and I'm just gonna say it. I can't. Discovery gets in its own way so much because we could have done this like really incredible scene with Book coming to terms and doing all this, but we did it while also showing a Starfleet officer being a dick to a bunch of representatives that they're trying to win over.
Who were dicks to him?
Okay, the Vulcans and Romulans are always dicks. Like, if after 1,000 years we haven't just accepted in the Starfleet manual, like, oh, by the way. And
True that.
Stamets is supposed to have been through a whole point in history where the Vulcans weren't even as nice as they were in TNG.
Wasn't
he was supposed to be when Vulcans
they
were
were
the
really
biggest
rude.
assholes.
Yeah, it's true.
So
wasn't he also going to go to the Vulcan Science Academy in like season?
Yeah, they talked about him just
like...
and I'm sorry, just one last thing. That whole scene flew in the face of any scientific method. All Stamets was focused on was trying to prove his theory. He wasn't trying to figure out what the end result. All he was doing was like, well, no, it has to be the radiation. It has to be Cherenkov radiation. Oh, that's the only option. No, if you're the Vulcan Science Academy, you should be going in and being like, here's what I have. Let's figure out what it is. Not, here's what I have. How do I make my that is like the antithesis of what you should do. It like the whole thing just got under my skin. I understand why they did it. But it just goes back to what I don't like about Discovery is that they just throw all of like the world building and the realism and the science behind. Like you could have written that in a way that like exemplified all of these things rather than making him just look like a doof.
Do you think? Oh, go ahead, Paul.
I just have to say, I thought that storyline with him going to Navarre and trying to prove his case was one of the most realistic storylines we've had in the show. Which I don't know. I don't care what you say, Matt. Like, yeah, it's grittier, but it's in no way closer to reality than any other Star Trek show. But I thought this, like, arguing your scientific point, and having a bunch of people just being very slow and deliberate was fairly realistic.
Like a thesis defense, almost, kind of like.
Yeah. The problem for me, though, is you are correct that he's so dead set on it being a proto wormhole that he's not listening to the Navarre Science Council when they say it's not. So I really hope the show doesn't turn around and say, "Oh, Stamets was right after all."
My gosh, it's the protostar, and it's going to break through the barrier at the end.
Which is how Dahl gets there.
And that's how Dahl gets there.
But my point, though, is that I think that the storyline, despite how that it was fairly realistic that they would be having these discussions and arguments, it just kills any momentum for the danger of the BMA or the DMA, whatever the fuck it is.
DMA.
What is DMA?
Dark matter anomaly.
Dark matter anomaly. Yeah, the DMA.
We're sitting here having like Stamets annoyingly says, having a nap about it, and I thought the choice of the show to make it so contemplative and less urgent kind of kills the threat from this thing that could pop up at any moment. Like, we should be doing evacuations or something, not conversations about it.
And
at least
that, I think, is
spirit of discovery to me,
And that's the thing is, and this just goes back. I loved the scene. I loved the scene of having him there and arguing his defense because we finally get to see the Vulcan Science Council too. But like, my thing, like, his approach just as a character was off-putting, and it's like, if you're going to go down there and do this, you're not doing it right. And to your point, I think if it's going to constantly like be moving around unpredictably, I think it would have been amazing if while he was there, all of a sudden it had shifted. Still not necessarily like to the point of like it's now threatening Earth. Like, we're not there yet, but like, it shifted again unpredictably, and it doesn't really change the overall story, but it still keeps that level of
threat. That's
exactly.
That's interesting. I agree with cool aliens at last. I was a little glad to have a reprieve from the intensity of the baby wormhole or whatever it is, like. But I do think that you're right. Like, that would have been that just would have kept the attention going. Wow, interesting stuff. I had the total different. Maybe it's because I saw it like at 3 a.m. because I woke up randomly, and so like maybe I wasn't like fully in my senses, but I was just like taken by what Paul said earlier, kind of like the movie quality of it. Like, I did think all these different like storylines, and it felt decently paced to me. It didn't feel like anything was left behind, but I do agree that I think personally, I love the co-op a lot, so I could spend like a whole episode on just them. Speaking, wow, there's a lot of folks in the chat, so let me get to some of their comments real quick. Let's see here. Stress Free K says, Book does such a good job grieving his planet that the writers will definitely go back to that down the road. I actually disagree. I think that's it. They wrapped it like in a way. We'll probably get like more of him helping and working things out, but I think the lion's share of his grief has gone away, and I think that like not gone away, but like he's controlling it maybe, or like he's able to now manage it a little bit better. So maybe it will pop up later, but I don't think so. I think this is going to be one of those things where like we're going to move on to a new thing, and books part of it is like done, but I'd be surprised if they continue with it. What do you guys think?
I think I hope anyway he shifts from grieving man to action man. I didn't care about Quajon or little Kike or whatever his name was. The show didn't make me invest in these characters before they killed them, so it was hard for me to. Yeah, it was hard for me to care about his grief. So I'm happy if it's gone.
It was very much, and I'm still sticking with, like we said last week, it was very much Generations all of a sudden, which even that we got more, but like with Generations, it had been, several years since we saw Renee and
Robert.
Robert. So it kind of was like it was like understood that these people are very important, but you weren't like vested enough, and the show wasn't vested enough to get the guy that looked like Renee either. So it kind of felt like that again. It felt like dead family, that sucks. Hope
Yeah, but Generation sells it because Patrick Stewart's performance is so good.
And also,
again, like this is like it comes down to the actors so much in Star Trek, and that is what. And I was going to get onto this too. Like that is this season. This episode was what made me realize that's what I don't like about Discovery.
Is the performance
along with a lot of the
the performances?
There's some genuine performances in this episode.
Cannot handle most of these performances. But that's not Sunny. Like she has gotten. I've actually come to realize when you look at her whole arc up to the point where like we're so used to, and I'm jumping ahead, I'm sorry, but like we're so used to seeing the captain of the ship being like Janeway had the Albatani, or she was a lieutenant on the Albatani, but like Janeway had her ships, Picard had the Stargazer. Like we have these captains that have been captains before, but now we're seeing one who like this is her first captaincy. Like she has only ever been, either helping as number one or just like she hasn't been the one to always have to make the decisions. And so it's interesting to see like she does look green and acts green, but we're finally seeing her come into that. Whereas the rest of the cast, I'm sorry, but besides Detmer and Owo, like, and maybe Reese, which we haven't we saw once, these people are falling apart. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Can I just say something? Speaking,
please, go ahead.
As to Detmer and Reese and Owo, like the number one thing that I wanted this season from the Discovery writers, and I'm so upset that I haven't gotten it yet. I wanted some backstory for our bridge characters.
Yes,
I'm just like what in the Okay, I'm gonna have a stroke. Just give me a second.
Oh my gosh, I got scared because you actually look. I was like, oh no, what am I? I'm gonna have to end the stream. Call 911. I don't know where Marcelo lives. It's like.
Okay, guys. I'm sorry. I'm fine. But I don't understand why the show won't develop these characters. I mean, we're 4 seasons into the show now,
Can I just I want to interrupt you for a second. I think it's just we have to get used to the fact that I think they're in it for at least 5 or 6 seasons, and I think we have to just get used to the fact that it's a different for the last whatever amount of shows, it's always been the same model. It's these 7 characters are going to become the mains and we're going to love them and everything, but this is a show that from the beginning was always about I think they wanted it to just be about one character and everyone was going to be background, but obviously as time has progressed, fans have kind of expressed interest in certain other characters, so the writers are kind of it's very real time. There's also another thing that Discovery is unique in that all the previous shows didn't have the instant reactions to what they were doing up on screen. There weren't shows like this. There weren't Twitter tirades or or whatnot. Sure, people wrote in, but it was very controlled. You could read the letters weren't out there as press releases for everyone to see and assume what the reaction of the the fans is, but it's a whole different animal, and I think this show is a product of that, so we have to kind of get used to it. And I think we're going to get the development from all the characters. It's just not going to be instant. It's going to be throughout the series, and I hope it lasts 7 seasons, but I think people are speculating 5.
I'm still with Marcelo on this.
Yeah, but look, for me, it's a miracle that I care about Detmer. It's a miracle that I care about Awoshikan. It's a miracle that I care about Reese. And the only reason that I care about them is because I've read about them in Star Trek books. I shouldn't have to do that.
Is that true? They get more developed in the novels. Yeah. I got to start reading them.
Look. As a writer, it is your job to make your audience invest in your characters. And if you don't do that when you put them in crazy situations,
no one's gonna care.
No one's gonna care. Thank you, Matt. No one's gonna care.
And I've been saying this.
And the other,
I was gonna say I've been saying this for a while. I like these characters not because of the writing or how they're written, but because of the performances. Sonequa Martin Green makes Michael Burnham a likable, lovable, badass character. The writing fails her consistently, although she was great in this episode. but like, yeah, I really like Owo and Reese and all those guys because they're like charismatic performances. They're button pushers with charisma somehow.
Push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt,
I
don't know,
think-
just
I think of
That's
all. I think of I like. I don't disagree that the characters have had a different path to development, and I also don't disagree that like the writing hasn't always been as great as I would expect. Like there are times where I'm like, oh, maybe I could have done this better, and I shouldn't be saying that because I'm not like a professional writer. You know what I mean? Like, but overall, I do think like it's a mix of. I think it's a mix. It's like sometimes like what's on the page might not be that great, but like the actor does indeed elevate it to another level. And I 100% agree when it's in the hands of someone like Sonequa Martin Green, especially this season now that she's comfortable in the role. Like she's super comfortable in the role. Like that's the one takeaway talking about performance is that like I haven't loved her more. Like she's the best in this episode, and it makes it kind of sad to me because like I like what the writers tried to do with starting her off as a commander. Well, actually her whole fall to like her fall from grace and then her coming back up. I love that what they tried to do, but because of who Sonequa Martin Green is and because of the way she's been and everything, like I've always just been frustrated that she's not the captain. Like I think that was like one of the things that Discovery, maybe her arc should have been shortened. Like it shouldn't have taken 3 whole seasons for her to get into that captain's chair because she's awesome as captain. Like the character Burnham was meant to be captain.
No, the reason why they have the president is for an authority figure for her to bounce off of. It says to me that they promoted her too fast, and that the arc for the entire series should have been her getting to the captaincy.
No, I
It
mean-
doesn't.
See, but
No.
and that's
Interesting.
what I want to piggyback on that really quick, just because I've been waiting to talk about also like the admiral and the president in this one. A+, being actual like commanders in chief and making the difficult decisions. And yet again, we see, and that goes back to me saying like she's clearly not been a seasoned captain because every single thing. She's just so black and white with this is Starfleet ideals and this is how I believe and I'm very fervent with that and Starfleet tells me to believe what I believe, and she isn't capable of seeing the bigger picture. Like she at the end, she demands like we're never going to see justice, are we? Okay, well the other way of looking at that is that the guy wasn't murdered in cold blood for nothing. Like he was murdered because there wasn't an open line of communication between Navarre, the Coatmalat, and Starfleet. Like, he died to save an entire planet. That's the way we should be looking at this. He died to save an entire species.
Well, it was also odd that she did say, like, she did come around to saying, like, oh, the reasons matter. Like, she told her she had that. But then later she's like, oh, but justice needs to be served. Well, how come she doesn't trust, like, why doesn't she trust that justice, maybe the Coatmalat will serve justice upon.
And it's not whatever happened to, like, if you really want to be Starfleet captain, whatever happened to the Prime Directive. Like, you extradited him to a non-Federation planet. It's not your fault nor anyone else's fault that Navarre is no longer the Federation, but it's not. So, like, you did your job, and part of your job is saying, hey, this is your culture, we're staying out of it. And, like,
I'm a little baffled by Michael's odd aversion to politics. Like, where did this come from? Are they trying to like court like a conservative audience, but who have generally hated Michael? Oh, Michael is a woman of action. She hates politics as usual. She's just like you. Like, I really honestly felt like there was some kind of oddly conservative coding to this character trait that they brought into Michael.
Interesting, yeah.
Those were the 3 strongest characters. I have to jump in with the Cool Aliens.
Cool Aliens at Last says the Admiral and President the President of Navarre, President Tarina, were all great this week. It was they really were. The top dogs were really awesome this week. It was true. I liked even Vance's he knew
orchestra.
His orchestra analogy. He knew he was like stretching it far. That was cool. Go ahead.
Just my one last thing that I was thinking of that I wanted to bring up. Part of the reason that I think it just didn't land with me And one of the other reasons I love Picard too is that, okay, so Burnham's supposed to be our hero. She's supposed to be the captain. We're supposed to basically be comparing her to people like Janeway and Picard. Like, realistically, that's what we're supposed to be doing. You have
Or we
someone
do
like,
it. That's what we
or
do.
we do.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
okay, but if you're writing for Star Trek, you need to realize like that's what's going to happen.
Right.
Picard was always, as much as he was, independent, he was, captain of the flagship and all these things. At the core, he had faith that the Admiralty was going to do what they should do, and the president was going to do. He would get in tuffles with them, like Nechayev, obviously, perfect example. Might not always agree with them. He might question them. Obviously, insurrection, we realized that, we always have the rotten admiral thing. But at the core,
Admiral
you were always
Doherty.
supposed to...
Sorry.
You had to do
How
it.
many people does it
I
take,
had to-
Admiral? But you always had that, like, you believed in the overall. You believed that at the end of the day, the right thing was going to happen. And it feels like when Picard went back and realized that Admiral Clancy was not open to that and that he could see these things going wrong, you could see him being disheartened and disillusioned.
Well,
Like,
he
you
said,
had
like,
that fall apart.
ignore me at your peril. Is
Yeah,
It's
which he
not
got a
just-
little-
like,
there was a
like,
little-
he got a little much there. I was like,
little
whoa.
fucking hubris on that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, with Burnham, we're seeing this as, it just seems like this petulant child that's like, no, you're not going to do it right. Listen to me. I want to do it. Like, I want to do it. You can't. And everyone's like, no, we're doing the best we can. This is not the peaceful time. Like, you need, I don't know. It seems like they're not building that trust in order to break it. They're just going in like you're constantly questioning it. So you never know what's going to happen. And so it doesn't have the impact if and when it were to fall apart, which I have a feeling they're going to set it up that the president's some horrible whatever.
No, actually, I believe that as we go along here through the seasons, that Michael is going to become more of this stereotypical Picard character, or more of the stereotypical Kirk character. That at the end of the show, she's going to have that belief in the system that she doesn't have now.
I would love to see that. I would. I really
yeah.
would.
But the other thing that I would have done if I was writing the series, which would be a disaster because I would never be able to write Star Trek or have a heart attack like every day.
You could do it.
I would.
if it was your job.
Yeah, I could probably do it. I could probably do it. I would actually have waited till the very, very last episode to put Michael in the chair.
Oh, I hate that. It's
Like,
too,
he's right.
it's too
He's
much.
right.
Yeah, right, yeah, right.
Yeah,
See,
you're
It would have
I got
felt like
one.
it would have felt like I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm on the camp of like Michael should have been captain in season 2 or season 3 right away from the beginning of season 3, but whatever.
No,
No,
guys,
but
Sorry,
we have to give
finish
him-
your point
we
though,
have-
Marcel. I'm sorry.
No, but I think I think if we would have seen her take finally get the chair in the last season, we would have really seen the character maturation from the pilot all the way to the end of the series. I think that would have been our golden reward to see her sit in the chair.
She just had it
watching all the
handed to her
episodes
last
between-
season.
Yeah, right. Yeah. She
Yeah,
got-
I don't know
she
why
got
this
handed to her.
season isn't about her trying to prove herself. I don't know why the last one wasn't Vance scolding her and saying, "Listen, you fucked up. Saru's gone. We need you in the chair, but this better be your proving ground."
She fucked up
then go
so
from
many
there.
times last season. It should have been Starfleet still hates you. You're still the mutineer from 1,000 years ago. We don't trust you. And it continues this story of Michael that we began in season 1, not handing her the chair in the last 5 minutes of the finale for season 3,
No.
and then having her run up against the president now. I just don't understand. I don't understand.
For
We
me,
got
for-
go ahead, sorry, Marcel.
Right. For me, I couldn't like my friends will attest to this who actually watch the show with me. I couldn't stand the way that Michael in past seasons did whatever the hell she wanted to do. And
So I just have
hold
to
up,
I have to be one of those guys, but you
Okay.
could stand it when Kirk does whatever the hell he wants to do, or when like
No.
Cisco does whatever the hell he wants to do. Like, I'm sorry, but I just have to ask. Like, go ahead.
Hold up. First of all, I'm not a Kirk guy. You know this.
I know, but still.
Second of all, to address the Cisco thing, Cisco is captain, so he can do whatever the hell he wants.
He was doing what he wants when he was a commander.
But he's
And
a
then,
commander
and then
of the
I ask,
spaceship, bro.
yeah,
That's
and then
Yeah.
and then I have to ask, like, why are the two minority characters starting off as commanders and not as captains right away? Like, why do we have to see them rank up? Like, you know, I have questions like that. Like, I know it's a little radical, but whatever.
Yeah, no, but the thing is that the thing that constantly bothered me about Michael Burnham is that she constantly in past seasons disrespected the chain of command. She wasn't respectful at all. She was this petulant child who did what the hell she wanted to do. And now she's getting better. She's starting to, relax a little bit and sit with it. So with that being said, I am very, very happy to see where she goes and see if she grows into the person that I want her to be. Sorry, that's it. That's all I'm going to say.
And that is the perfect way to, and I 180,000% agree. And that's why I think, if anything that's weirdly consistent and does make sense with the writing of Michael Burnham, it's that she got the captaincy after completely being just insubordinate all over. But I get it. You know, Cisco was also in the middle of wartime, so he committed war atrocities and violated, how many people. But it was in the name of the Federation, so we give him a pass.
It was desperate times, the Dominion, but like,
Sure.
but don't you think they've been? But don't you think they've been in desperate times? Okay, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
But what I was gonna say is, if anything, the consistency with Michael Burnham's character is still there. She got captaincy, said "fuck you" to Vance, basically. Kind of rubbed it in his face last episode. It was like, "I'm so glad that you were able to go get your family. Remember, I helped you do that." Like, it was kind of like that's how it kind of came across.
That's how you. That's not true. I was gonna say that. I love that read though.
That's kind of how I read it. But now all of a sudden we're seeing her in the captaincy. She is full commander-in-chief of her vessel. Great. She can make whatever choices she wants. She's sitting with that. She's becoming mature with that. Great. But then we're still seeing her at every single turn with any authority figure. It's like, just shut up. Pretend.
Do you not think it's a little?
With everyone.
But do you think it's a little less intense as it was before? Like, do you think it's like? Do you think she's toned down though? Because I get the sense that she's toned down. But
I want to see. Okay, here's my thing. I want to see her have a conversation or some interactions with other fellow Starfleet captains of the era. I want to know what.
Yeah, that's really great.
Their viewpoint is. And what her view, I mean, we know what her viewpoint is. We've watched her come 1,000 years. I want to know, what do Starfleet captains in the 32nd century think of all of this? Do they see her as the person that saved everything? Or do they see her as a petulant child that got handed
what's her place?
You came out of
What's her place in
nowhere, saved everything
in the fleet?
You.
That's interesting. I wonder if we'll get that this season. That's interesting.
We need the captain of the either the Voyager or the Enterprise, which is. I still think it's just suspicious that we haven't heard a single thing about the Enterprise in this time period. But we need the captain.
It's the Enterprise J. It's still out there.
No, you think it's the J still?
No, I want to see like the captain of the Voyager. Just like really resent Michael for like taking the Thunder out of like the flagship or whatever. That would be great.
I want to see.
And hopefully not be a reused set of Discovery. I don't understand why the USS Credence.
Yeah. Oh, actually, let's
Clearwater. What was it?
The Clearwater. Was it the Credence?
No, it was the Credence. It was the Credence. It was just the airlock of Disco. They didn't bother to disguise this set, and almost like they repainted it, but like the doors are the same. So apparently, in the 32nd century, the interiors of starships look exactly like they did in the 23rd.
I'm pulling this. Oh, it's so tiny. That's what he said. I'm pulling this image up here because Matt's going to say something about this.
So if you look, and Paul's going to argue with me, which is fantastic that his face is blocked by a banner on my screen.
I actually
right now.
moved him
Damn
up. I
it.
moved him. I moved him up.
Damn
it! That's funny.
I'm going out and saying, if you look at the similarities, that is a 32nd century Challenger class. It has the two nacelles above and below, and then it has
Let me
the
see if I can
pods
pull
on
up the
sides
other.
too. That is, maybe they did it by accident.
I can
Knowing
guarantee you
designers
the producers of Discovery don't know what the Challenger
I
is.
can almost guarantee it too, but I really want, as a ship whore and someone that would really like to believe that the designers and UX and ship people are at least looking at things that have come before. It looks to me like a 32nd century Challenger class.
It looked like an indecipherable mess to me. I couldn't tell what was up.
Well, because it was so... that is actually the clearest shot we've had of basically any ship in Discovery. Be that good or bad.
Do we have a screenshot of that?
I'm trying to pull it up, like, but while I do that, let's go to the comments. Ooh, that's doing something weird. My computer. Okay, comments real quick. Back to President Rylak. Will tell people anything she thinks they want to hear to get them to do what she wants. First, she tells everyone she has complete faith in Michael. A lie. Then she tells Michael to ignore what I told the president, Tarina, and basically put a bounty on Giovanni's head, knowing full well that she'll turn Giovanni over to Navarre if she comes back alive.
But see, I think, okay, here, I'm a defend. I'm a Rillick apologist. I think she is doing exactly what she should be doing in a political situation like that. She had to tell... I think she might have made... The only mistake she would have made is actually trusting Michael enough to tell her the actual plan. Like, I think any other Starfleet captain would have been in on that and said, okay, we see what's going on here. The president is trying to extend a peaceful olive branch to these, this former very important planet. But I also understand as a Starfleet officer that this is what needs to happen. And the difference is President Rylak is telling her, like, by the way, this is what's going on. Here's behind the scenes, since you've already proven that you can't really think diplomatically.
Red alert.
Right. Is this Michael Burnham coming to kill me?
She's coming. She's
coming.
That sounded like one of those like nuclear air raid things. Yeah.
It's an air raid siren, guys. Sorry.
Do they? Why do you have one?
No. I know. I live. Sorry, guys, if you can hear this. I live right next to a fire station.
Oh, okay.
So
that's very convenient.
Yeah, it's very convenient, but it's very annoying because sometimes, like 6 o'clock in the morning, the siren will go off and wake the entire household up and take us off. Sorry, I'm
so what you're saying? What you're saying is this debate is so on fire.
It is actually the debate is on fire. It's true.
Yeah, there you go. But I'm gonna mute myself so
you weren't kidding when you said you had thoughts. This is very cool.
I really do. I really do. I have a lot of very I love Rylak. I think she's doing a great job. She's doing the best she can. She was thrown in, and she's also given the perfect vibes of I think one of the reasons that she's a Cardassian is for us to question her.
To mistrust
being
her.
So exactly, like it lays that oh, you're slimy.
Is this the first I guess this is the first post Cardassian like their old ways person that we've seen. It'd be interesting to see I know she's a mix of Cardassian, human, and Bajoran, which is very interesting. But it would be interesting to see what the Cardassians are doing these days.
I would settle for knowing what the Cardassians are doing in Picard.
Well, they're part of the Federation, so
yeah, it's interesting. Yeah,
at some point in the last 1,000 years,
fairly neutered. Yeah,
I just want. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, all criticisms of the show aside, it is consistently good at making these strong female badass bitch characters, and I just I just totally expect Rillick to be just another one of these really amazing strong women characters.
Yeah, I actually like Rillick, except that I agree that she's sneaky, but she kind of fesses up to it a little bit when Burnham asked her if she had looked up the info about the guy's home planet. And she's like, why does it, whether it was a lie or not, and she's like, why does it matter? Like, if it helps, like, which is interesting. One of my favorite remakes of Miracle on 34th Street, the lawyer's defense of Santa Claus is, if a lie makes you smile, is it bad? Is it a bad lie? And so I feel like she's like, if a lie saves a life, is it a bad lie? Like that kind of thing.
The other thing that I really, really enjoyed about this episode is the little micro storyline between Tilly and Saru. And, Tilly basically coming to Saru and asking him for advice about how to sort of get right with herself.
Yeah, let's talk about, so they had like these cool pairings, I guess. So Tilly and Saru continue from season 3 as like, kind of a mentor-mentee type of relationship. Like, carry on, Marcel, but I just want to say it's interesting that I like that they're continuing to do that.
No, I mean, it's really interesting that we are really seeing Tilly have these crises of faith, it's really interesting that we're seeing Tilly sort of question the person that she is, because in earlier seasons, she's been the happy-go-lucky, bubbly person, but it's really nice seeing the character change and progress a little bit. And I love the fact that she is coming to like the senior, like the wise old man on the ship in Saru and asking him for advice. But I'm beginning to wonder, is Tilly going to go off the ship, and is she going to like take a posting at Starfleet Academy and teach some cadets or something?
Did you see, no spoilers, we won't talk about it in detail, but did you see the little clip from next week's episode on I know not everyone watches The Red Room. Okay, then I won't say anything, but there's like it's interesting that you said that, because there's like a scene that, reminded me of what you just said. Cool Aliens at Last says, I can't remember how the Tilly thing turned out. I'll have to rewatch the scene at the end. Similar to Book, she kind of had like a breakthrough herself, and it had to do with one of the things I liked was that we found out, there's more to the line. It's not just my friends choose to live, it's your path has come to an end, choose to live. And I like the whole story behind it. It's like, and it made sense. For me personally, it was cathartic, because I do sometimes feel like, what more is there to do on Starfleet Boy? No, I'm just kidding. Not, but like, what more is there to do? Like, sometimes you feel like, I don't know what to do. I've done this for a long time, and I don't know if I want to change direction. I'm just kind of like lost. And so it's good to acknowledge your path has come to an end. Choose to live, like, go do something else. Like, I like that whole message behind it. And it did feel like it clicked with Tilly, and she's like, oh, okay, I'm starting to feel like I'm figuring it out.
Can we talk about Quat Malat a little bit, though?
Yeah.
I just like, and I'm gonna put this out there, and you're it's gonna sound harsh again.
Go ahead, that's fine.
And I have to just preface it by saying I do really like Discovery. There are some really good aspects of it. I just have like a lot of problems with it. But
issues.
I think that the Quat Malat, despite what Cool Aliens at Last said in the comments, I think the Quat Malat were actually really interesting and fairly nuanced in Picard. And I think the 2 appearances of the Quat Malat in Discovery have been so over the top that they've like reduced them to cartoons. And your point, or your mention of the choose to live saying being longer, I don't know what it was about the way that line was both written and delivered, but I thought it was so cheesy, and I thought that it really like hurt the mystique of the Quat Malat. I just feel like Discovery took something good and like turned it into something awful already.
So how about this? So the whole thing, and help me remember this, because I thought of it was, they said that it was shortened from your path has come to an end, choose to live, right?
Yeah.
If they had just said, oh, it's a shortened phrase, it's actually longer. It says your path has come to an end, choose to live a new one. The whole thing makes more sense.
That would be way better. Yeah, that's much
There,
better.
that's all. Like you have all. And when I was watching that, I was like, oh, your path has come to an end. Choose to live a new one. A, the cadence in the writing, it makes more sense. And B, it does actually open a door and mean something now.
Well, it also like is like the phrase like turn the other cheek. Like the interpretation for most people is like just look away, don't make a big fuss out of some kind of insult. But there's another interpretation, which is turn the other cheek. If somebody slapped you in the face, make them slap you on the other side of the face, right?
Yeah.
Like that would have been an interesting way to reinterpret the choose to live. Is like, what if there's like a double meaning there? But what Gabriel Burnham says doesn't change the meaning. So I didn't really understand. I didn't think that was in any way a meaningful, expansion of this lore. And I think that's the problem with a lot. Is Discovery isn't meaningfully contributing to that universe. They're just distilling it into these like silly, like the absolute candor. The whole episode would have been solved by absolute candor. So you've taken something that is like fundamental to the Qowat Milat and ignored it for the convenience of the story, and then and then harmed the concept of the Qowat Milat. So yeah.
And it made no sense that all of a sudden she was put in a place where she's vowed to keep these people safe, and she suddenly has Starfleet technicians that can help these people, and she still holds her best friend at knife's blade. Like, if it was absolute candor, she should have been like, "Oh, you can actually do that? Cool, you're on my side now." Like, that's how the Qowat Milat's supposed to work. Like, it's very polarizing. You're either on my side and helping me with this mission, or you're against me. And as soon as Michael was like, "No, we're here to help," she should have been like, "Okay, then what can you do?"
Yeah, but she had
go ahead, sir. What does this mean, a lost cause? Like,
just because they're in sleeper cells. Also, major Dragon Teeth vibes from this. But
what's Dragon Teeth?
That's an excellent episode of Voyager that introduced the Vaudoir, which
and Underspace. Yeah.
What season is that? I haven't gotten there yet. I guess
season 6.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm about to get there. Okay. I don't know why, but there's a comment from TextTrack which says, "I prefer absolute candor over lying spoonhead president," and for some reason my app doesn't show that comment for me to show it on screen. But anyways, that's
hateful and racist.
I guess.
I was gonna say, so you have a Cardassian racial filter on?
I guess. I don't know. Like, that's so weird. I see the comment in the monitor over there that I have, but it's not on this program. So sorry, Father. I don't know why it blocked it out, but it's.
And I'm sorry, TextTrack. I gotta say, I'm still saying.
Shout out to
Rilek would do what Janeway does.
Shout out to TextTrack. Check him out tomorrow at 7:30 Central, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, for a deep dive into this episode. They'll have had a chance to see it like 3 or 4 times. We only just react, and they do like a presentation and stuff. It's pretty cool, so go check that out. Thanks, Cool Alien at last says that Google held the comment for review. I know, but it never popped up on my screen. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. That's interesting. I think that what's interesting also about the Qowat Milat is that what was cool about them in Picard is that they had like this long-standing tradition. They were like these warrior nuns or whatever, and yet they took on Elnor. So I thought that was like a cool thing, and like made him. And I thought that was neat because he like had this like kind of androgynous quality to him because of it, like because he was like, and I
have you all seen his Instagram?
Yeah, I love. By the way,
I physically can't.
The actor's super generous when he first got on Picard, when he was first announced. Like, I messaged him like a fanboy, and he like wrote back, and he was so sweet, and he was like very nice. So his name is Evan Evagora, a very cool guy. But yeah, he's a model. He was a model before. And an actor, so yeah, go check out.
Still does a better acting job than.
And
he has a cool. Is he a Kiwi? Is he from New Zealand or is he Australian? I can't remember. He's from New Zealand.
He's Australian. Yeah. Oh, okay. Cool. Can I also just say that like making Gabriel Burnham the leader of the Qowat Milat just reeks of desperation for what to
Is
do
she
with
the
this
leader?
character.
I don't think she's the
Well, she's
leader.
at least in this episode, she
Like
is.
a figurehead. Yeah, she's like
yeah.
a lead person, right?
Yeah,
I
I
think
just
she's the
thought
leader
that she-
of the Koala
I
Lot.
read, yeah,
personally.
I read
What?
that as she had volunteered. Sorry.
Marcelo, what did you say?
I personally don't think that she's the leader of the Co-op Malot. I'm with Matt on this one. I think she sort of just volunteered because of Michael Burnham's involvement in
Okay.
the situation.
Well,
I
and
just
she's
say,
a
like,
Malot's sister. She
Her
knew
being
so
a
she-
sister
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
just the show being desperate to find something to do with this character and saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
well, the Co-op Malot and Picard were cool, so we're going to appropriate them," and then failing. Because
No, the
I
other-
think the Blue Angel, Gabrielle Burnham as the Blue Angel, way more interesting than Gabrielle Burnham Co-op Malot.
The other thing that I didn't particularly like is I would have wanted Gabrielle Burnham to execute her best friend at the end of the episode. Instead of arresting her, I was like, it would be really cool if she just executes her right now.
for killing one
Dark,
of her own
yeah,
or something.
sure.
Yeah.
But I love-
Or for not having absolute candor with one of her
Yeah, there you
own
go.
in the very beginning, and
But
she
she was-
violates a basic
Gabrielle
tenet,
is
and then
guilty of this too, though. Like, she's holding back information too for plot convenience, which is very annoying. Anyway,
I
it also
do.
seems like kind of like the white people wearing dreads thing, because she's a human and she's a co-op Malot, and they didn't like even men, let alone like any other races having the co-op. I'm just gonna say
I
that
would say
too.
in 1,000
Like-
years, the Co-op Malot probably got a little more, evolved. Or woke might be a
But
good thing.
nothing else did.
No, everything's different. Cardassians are part of the Federation. Like Earth people are dicks.
Ferengi are
there's-
serving
yeah,
bar.
yeah,
There
there's Ferengi captains. Like
And
You know,
the
1,000 years-
Lesbians at a bar
No.
again. I don't know.
I want to listen. If there is another bar scene and you're not in it, then
Oh, I know.
nothing
Terry,
has.
Terry and
There was a bar
Alex,
scene in this
come on.
episode.
Yeah.
There's a
If you
there's.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm
If
like-
I don't see, if in season 7, Paul is not overseeing a subsidiary of Quarks, then this whole character arc in Star Trek has just failed me.
No, my horrible disappointment, to make this all about me, my horrible disappointment about both times I was in Star Trek, I was a civilian. No
so you can never be
uniforms.
brought back.
And you're not wearing the uniform. You wanted to wear the uniform.
I did. I really wanted to wear the uniform.
Did they
Yeah.
specifically
Would
tell
they
you
let
you were a
you
civilian?
Do you think
They
they'd let you?
actually, in Star Trek Into Darkness, they called me and they said, "We need you to wear a uniform or go get a fitting for a uniform." I was like, "Yes!" And then, we changed the dates of the shoot, so now you're wearing drop crotch pants and this weird vest and backpack. I hated it.
What scene were you in?
The bar.
Yeah, I'm in the
Oh,
bar.
the bar
in,
scene.
I'm in the
Oh,
bar
we're
in
picking up.
2009, and then
Whatever. It's like,
I'm on the street a couple of times in Into Darkness, and you can barely see me in either movie. So,
Okay.
Wait, I thought your part in Into Darkness was cut.
yeah, almost. I can see myself, but it would be very difficult for me to tell you.
we'll have to.
Can
we'll
you
have
see
to find
yourself,
you.
or do you see a CGI figure that kind of looks like you, and you're just gonna?
I know
The-
what I was doing in the scene, and I can see that person doing. I can see it, but it's very difficult to see. Yeah, and I'm in 2 scenes in that movie, or I worked on 2 scenes in that movie. But anyway, off topic.
That's okay. We sometimes do that. Art or Arte Snyder says hello from California. Hello. What did you guys think of the new aliens made of latinum? Even though we
fireworks.
only saw one, really.
Yeah, it was like the fireworks factory we never got to. I really needed to see these aliens get up off the floor and do something, and they just cut away.
Yeah. It would,
Yeah.
it would have been. Sorry, Matt.
No, go
It would
ahead.
have been. It would have been so cool if they would have all woken up, and they would have tried to attack them or something.
I thought that was gonna happen, but they didn't do that.
And also, can we point out a couple things? A lot of Species 8472 resemblance. The tripod and the multiple arm thing that they showed.
Oh, you
there
really
for
got a
second.
good look at him because I only saw the episode once, but I didn't realize it was a tripod character.
don't
Very,
screen
yeah,
cap?
they were. What?
You don't have a screen cap?
No, sorry, we don't do that on the show. I only
You're
have
not,
little.
you're not as prepared as Trek on the Tube, man.
No, you mean as Text Trek?
Well,
Text Trek does the
Text
screen
Trek.
caps.
But I will say, I thought it was a good idea.
My wingman's not here. Toddy usually pulls up all these things, but anyway, sorry, go on.
I thought it was interesting, and I thought it made an interesting spin on why she was so desperate to protect them from pirates. Although, here's my question, because I overanalyze everything in Star Trek. Would latinum actually be that valuable now that like dilithium is the most like scarce thing? Like, does anyone care about latinum anymore? Like,
Well, you're right because it's a little silly that they went with latinum because it could have been something else, you know. And because again, it's 1,000 years later, it's still valuable. But one of the most interesting threads in the episode is there are dilithium thefts because, well, they've heard that Starfleet is distributing. Other planets have heard that Starfleet is distributing dilithium, and also people are scared because of the anomaly. So, like the concept that the big threat to these guys is because they're made out of latinum, I thought was a little bit, again, a little bit unfortunately disconnected from the larger storyline. It could have been about the dilithium or something. I don't know. But.
Or they were part of, like, they had some special thing that, like, technobabble and make it make sense. Like, it seemed kind of cheap to make it like, oh, it's latinum. Oh, is Quark gonna show up now? Like,
it was Quark. Quark traveled to the future just to. No, he wouldn't kill. I don't think he would kill.
What
latinum.
happened in Area 51?
That's right, he is.
Right.
I don't think it's the Ferengi if they're part of the Federation now, and they're like. I think the Ferengi are also now, no longer capitalists. I think they're now socialists as well, and like, totally like.
Don't you ever say that? Don't you say they have not lost their lobes?
There's got to be. There's got to.
They now have a lobe for diplomacy. What do you call? They have a lobe for like.
Wait, guys. We just explained why the Ferengi looks the way he does. He's a socialist. That's why he looks different.
There you go. They lost their lobes. They're not connected to here anymore. But she does say that she did try. She requested dilithium, and then Tilly's like everyone. There was like a lot of aha moments in that scene. Like, I think it did a good job of establishing why she went rogue and why she was so like weary of Michael when Michael was like, we can help, why she was like, no, you can't. Like, I already asked for help. Like, I already went through the official channels. I petitioned for dilithium. Y'all said no. And so now I had to steal it. I was desperate, and I couldn't tell everyone about these people because I didn't trust you when you didn't want to give me made it so difficult to get the dilithium. And so how can I trust you that you're going to help these people, even though the Federation totally would have helped them? But so I kind of felt like that was a good justification for why she was so on edge about everything and why it took her so long to finally, let go of that
or to have some candor and open up about what's going on.
What's going on? It's true. I have to go back and revisit Elnor, but I think he is the most candid of all the Quat Milat that we've seen so far, other than his mother nun who was in that episode as well. So yeah, it's true. But yeah, I think the Quat Milat, like everyone else, is kind of evolved in there. But like I haven't seen much of the same thing, and I do agree that they are, they're pristine in Picard. They're like they're very delightful, and they're a little different here. Their vibes
because they were invented
different.
in Picard.
Yeah, exactly.
By different writers who had an idea, and then they have these writers now that
they're much more.
This seems fun.
Yeah, no, well, that's a little much. They're much more violent in Picard. Yeah.
I mean,
she got some teeth in Picard.
I mean, but like, she did slaughter a Starfleet officer, and then one of her own, sisters. I mean, it's pretty violent.
We haven't seen as many ground battles with the Kolot Malat as we have in Picard, so I think it's kind of hard to see like, and over 1,000 years, like,
if we're gonna add like the what ifs, I'll add my little what if because of this conversation. I didn't realize it when I was watching the episode, but it would have been so neat to have a representative from the species that she saved come to trial and petition on her behalf and say like, hey, look, we were stuck for hundreds of years in this stasis chamber. If this lady hadn't come along and like, done
And
that,
use
like,
the plot to explain what
right.
happened to them, like
Right,
just a
exactly.
small little hidbit
And then
of,
introduce-
like, backstory,
and then introduce a new ally to the
Yeah,
Federation,
exactly.
and like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
would have been a neat thing. So yeah, I will say that
Yeah.
that is a like that would have
And
been a cool
then-
what if.
Burnham would have had no. Well, that's probably why they didn't do it, because then Burnham wouldn't have been able to question and been like, "Is she gonna face charges?" Like, you wouldn't have had that. Like,
Well,
again, it's not Sonequa. Like, I love her. I think she could be great in this
No, we
character. It is
yeah,
the
we
right.
recognize
Yeah,
that.
I'm telling you, she's gonna get better. You just have to wait.
she's gonna become
I'm
as
so-
She's
Michael
I think
Burnham.
she's already fantastic. It's not
President
I
Michael
don't-
gonna be the
Burnham.
last
Michael
one.
Burnham for president.
that's who's next.
No, Michael Burnham. Are you kidding me?
Burnham
Oh,
2024. Is that? What
I
we're
think
gonna
that's
start now?
what's I think that's like the ultimate fate is Burnham for president. No, I think she'll stay captain and maybe
Oh,
she'll
she
go
better stay
into
captain, man.
like
I'm
I'm
just
with
so
her.
worried that they're gonna. I'm so worried they're gonna make the president.
Textrack points out that we don't actually know if the Ferengi are in the Federation. That's true. We don't know. We just know that there's a captain serving, a Ferengi captain serving. It's just like the
And
Klingons
there's-
were not.
True. Yeah.
And there's a Ferengi serving in the operations department aboard Discovery, serving alcohol in the bar.
I didn't notice him. There was a Ferengi serving the
There's
alcohol.
a
in the
Ferengi
bar?
bartender, and there is a Lurian,
Lurian, yeah.
Allurian.
Lurian in the background in the bar on Disco, which for some reason has a fireplace. Which for some reason
Now I
So-
need to. Okay,
So-
I love all the sets.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they're
that's
great
it.
sets, yeah.
That set was a cool set. You could see that being like a rooftop bar in LA or something like that. It was
Here's my
pretty neat
only.
in the
and
winter.
I
Yeah.
want to hear it, Marcel. I just want to say
Okay.
I realized also in this episode one of the reasons I don't like Discovery, it doesn't have that like very thin pile carpet. Like, it's too shiny. Not everything needs to be made out of concrete. You're supposed to be living on this ship. That's what made like the Enterprise D and Voyager and everything. You had a slight amount of homey because it
Okay,
had no carpet to it.
The carpet is
It's
what
too
dates
shiny.
those shows really badly, but it's
Whatever. I think it's.
Dude,
it's
you complaining
I
about
do.
carpet?
We have to talk about Adira and Gray because I think
Do
we've
we
talked a
have
lot
to?
about every.
We have to. We don't have to.
Well,
I don't want to talk about that. Can we talk about something else?
on the ready
They
room,
are
something
characters.
I picked up on, which I thought was interesting, and they confirmed it on the ready room, was that like Adira was like really kind of has been like this whole time about Gray incorporating has been like really kind of like nervous and acting very awkward and weird, more than Adira's usual kind of characteristic. And I wondered I wonder if that had to do with the fact that like Gray has just been Adira's thing. Like that's like no one sees Gray, so Adira, like there's Gray can't leave Adira, Gray can't die unless Adira dies, all this stuff. And so now Gray incorporating means that that's it. It's like Gray is no longer Adira's like possession in a way. And so I wondered if did you guys read any of that into it, and like did you see any of that?
No, I'm very interested to see how their relationship is going to change now that Gray has an android body, and they can go wherever they want. So I'm very interested to see how the tension is going to play out between them. But the main reason why I don't care about those two characters as much is because I don't know that much about them. Like I know that
I think we know a lot more about
Yeah,
them
we
than anybody
know a
else.
lot more than Bryce or
I know
Reese,
so
like-
much more than I even care to know about either of them.
Okay. So I will admit that was sort of a cop out. I kind of just don't. I just kind of for some reason I can't connect with those characters, and like I'm just go.
So here's my thing, and it's always been with the two of them, and I love the idea. Let me just say, obviously, I am all for having a trans and non-binary character representation. I think it's way long overdue. I think we should have had it in like Voyager, if not like at least the latest movies. All of that aside, I think the way that they are doing it in Star Trek Discovery is just a kick in the teeth. I cannot see Adira and Gray as anything more than two tiny teenagers that are just fumbling their way with their Converse and skinny jeans and like signing each other's like notebooks. I can't see it beyond that. It's like all of a sudden when she was freaking out that, oh, I can't feel him anymore. And Saru was there, and like I get it, like this is a moment, but to me it always just comes across as like, but Dad, I can't text him. Like I don't know what he's doing. Like
I can't
don't
text him. I don't know. What
man.
he's
like
doing.
that's all I get. I can't care about these characters. I can't care. Like it never seems like she has any idea what to do with her life, or what to do with their life, and what to do with his life, and like it's just. I can't care because it's like I need you to be put together. You're not professional.
Oh.
You haven't really shown that you're that smart. Like you're a good. Like okay, great. You're a science.
Are you
officer,
kidding?
but,
Like Adira Tully in their first appearance, like Paul's frozen, I think. Why are you laughing, Marcel? It's...
Oh no! Matt, you're making me laugh. Sorry.
Oh, okay. But Adira
Am I
Tully,
back?
like, yeah, you're back.
Okay.
Adira Tully sabotaged the whole.
sabotage.
What?
That's like sabotage, man.
Sabotage?
Sabotage.
Is it sabotage or
They
sabotage?
used it as a sabot. As in sabotage.
I say sabotage because that's the true pronunciation. As oh no, Paul's frozen again. He can't defend sabotage.
I can see you. I don't know what's going on
You're
exactly.
just frozen.
It's funny, you're just frozen. We can hear you though, so you can carry on and.
Well, wait. I have a
keep
question. I have a question because I
Mhm.
keep getting frozen. My internet keeps cutting out here because AT&T sucks. At least in LA.
No, they're horrible.
Did they take the Trill symbiote and put it into the golem? Is that what happened?
No, because they
No.
did mention the Jintara. They mispronounced it. They called it like the Zintara or something. When it's in DS9, it was called the Jintara. Do you remember when Jadzia, like the guy? I don't know how he performed it via hologram. That's still a confusing plot.
It's
point
the
for me.
32nd century. It doesn't matter.
Apparently not. They just have programmable matter, and he programmably mattered this psyche into the ether that was out floating around for a while before it settled down in the body. There was a lot of problems with this subplot that I have, being a very fervent Trill supporter.
Right. Yeah.
Clearly.
Well, I mean, like I'm like a super like nerd, right? Like I like pick up on all these details. I couldn't understand what was going on, and I kind of feel like it's a big wasted opportunity.
They just said, "Oh, hey, there is a physical body now. Oh, hey, we have established that the Trill are somewhat psychic." Even though we've completely said that that's not what they are, like they were in DS9, but fine, artistic license. And all of a sudden, now we have the technology to just throw him into a new body. Good luck.
But he didn't have. He doesn't have Tal in him because, like, I thought
No.
they said that they couldn't feel, or they lost their connection
Gray specifically
with Gray because it was through Tal.
Just
That's
Gray, and it's because he was in the ether and had not settled into the body yet.
And
from what I understood.
At no point in any episode have they said this is like a phenomenon that we're aware of with the Trill, that occasionally a host will become separated from the whole. We've not explained what this is, right?
Right.
Well, they covered it with it being weird because Adira is human. So that is why this other Trill conscious could share consciousness. Like that's why the symbiote could be a conscious being in Gray and Adira still having their own body.
So this storyline went absolutely nowhere.
My take on it, from what I can tell, my take on it is that because the Tal symbiote had already integrated with Gray and had already incorporated Gray's consciousness into its own, when it transferred to Adira, the Gray consciousness bonded with Adira in a way that was unusual. Like because of their previous relationship and the trauma of how that ended, the Gray consciousness somehow elevated itself from the collective consciousness, if you will.
Well, where are you getting this?
Well, what I get that from?
Inferences.
Well, no, well, yeah, inferences, but also like when they went onto the Kelpian ship, somehow the computer was able to interpret a consciousness outside of that was following Adira around somehow, like, and so
Right.
that's why Gray was now all of a sudden able to manifest in that thing. So that got Culber to thinking that, oh, so if this is an actual, so this is not just like something living inside Adira's head, this is something living with Adira, like that it's like somehow connected to Adira but separate from Adira because the computer could interpret it. If that's the case, then we can build a more sophisticated version of this this interpretation device into a synth. And I hope Paul's hearing all this because he's totally frozen. I don't know if he's like listening to this, but that now this golem body can like incorporate with this, like, you know, phenomenon, if you will. And I buy it. I think that's very Star Trek and whatever. It's like, you know, strange new type of stuff, you know, wild
Strange
stuff.
New World.
But it is
So-
inference because I think they don't even know fully what's going on. They're just kind of like shooting in the dark a little bit, like hoping that this would work. And you almost kind of get that sense when like nothing happened. Like, you know, the after the procedure, nothing seemed to happen, and it took. And I also like that, like, you know, initially Culber's instinct is like, let me take Adira away from Grace because their energy is just like very, you know, upsetting right now, and so maybe, like, you know, there needs to be more calmness, and so taking Adira away and then Adira coming back later when Adira was in a more calm, focused state and just focusing on being there for Gray, like that's when the consciousness finally incorporated, because it could like it didn't need to like tend after Adira's emotions anymore. It could just focus on discovering how to like make this golem come to life for its, you know, to become integrated with this golem. But again, totally my interpretation, not necessarily in the episode per se, but I don't know if they could put that in. Like, no one, I don't think they even know what's going on. Everyone's just like kind of like theorizing.
And that's the problem. Like,
why?
It goes back to that same basic tenet of Discovery never seems like it understands what it's trying to do, and it never seems like they fully complete anything they set up.
There's no
That's
payoff
my biggest
here.
thing.
I hope that I'm not frozen, like drinking my alcohol or making a weird face, but
I'll
no,
send
there's
you
no
a picture.
payoff.
It's really
here.
good.
Like, it doesn't. It didn't go anywhere. Like it's too easy to. I appreciate that Picard did the legwork to give Gray his body. Like that doesn't matter, but it didn't.
Picard also didn't
ultimately
do the legwork. They backed up and realized, oh shit, we were going to kill him. Now we have to give him a body.
Right. Well,
No,
at least it's
no,
there. At least it's
no.
there. At least it is living in a very recent season of the show. You know, oh, I'm sorry. Did I in-butt again? I apologize.
No, you're good. And by the way, no, Marcelo was saying, I think he was disagreeing with something about Picard. Marcelo, you have to grunt less and speak more, please.
Sorry.
Okay,
Or
sorry.
just grunt louder.
We want to hear you. We
Yeah,
want
we
to
wanna-
hear what
yeah,
you say.
less grunts, more thoughts. But carry
Go on,
on,
I'm sorry,
carry
guys,
on,
go.
Paul.
Sorry.
Oh no, I just don't think that it paid off, and maybe it will pay off later. And I'm just being, you know, impatient about this whole thing. But I just don't think that Gray as a character or his story as a Force ghost amounted to anything.
That's a good
and-
way.
and it
I could have
bothered
just
me.
said Force Ghost earlier, and it would have made sense.
It absolutely would have. Yeah.
It just kind of oh, this is a terrible picture. Me frozen. Am I still frozen?
Yes, yes.
Hell. All right, I'm gonna reload, but we should also end this conversation.
We will end it. I'm just going to go to the comments real quick because there's a bunch of comments. So Stress Free K says, Adira and Gray are the most legitimate aliens on board and reaching out to teen audiences with Trek needs. I do agree with that.
No.
That's cool. I do think
I
it's
will
nice to
agree.
have like characters that like a younger audience can agree with. And maybe that's why the Quat Milad are less violent, like in terms of like blood splattering everywhere in this show. Maybe they're trying to
think it's just
family
bad
it a
writing.
little bit more. I don't
think
know.
it's just bad writing. I think it's just bad writing. I
Text
will
check that.
agree.
Oh,
I
go
will
ahead.
agree that those are good teenage. Like, I get that it's the younger audience thing. I will get that.
I love
Texture-
Adira. Adira is so cute. I think that they are stealing a little bit of Tilly's thunder, but
Yes.
But it allows
and
Tilly
when-
to mature. Like, it allows Tilly to
Yeah,
grow out
sure.
of that, right? Like,
But
you know,
well,
it
also where's
allows-
Jet? Because those three characters kind of all like, you know, kind of occupy the same quirky universe.
Tig Notaro couldn't film at the beginning of the apparently, but we'll get a lot of Jet. Textrack says, I consider the Adira Gray C story the highlight of this episode. I think it was really clever how they crafted a story for the trans community. The desire to be seen, the fear the change might bring on in a significant other, the found family. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. The fear, but that kind of says better what I was trying to say earlier about the fear of, you know, like you're attached to a male or a female, and then, you know, that person's not feeling that way and transitions. That's really interesting. So Adira being attached to the Force Ghost no longer has like the Force Ghost to it. So and all things relevant and with those characters, but in an allegory that maintains the better future. I'm actually impressed that they have pulled it off so gracefully. One of the best things the show has done.
See,
it's good to see
ahead.
that
I will
somebody
have to
really
say-
appreciates it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
and
well
I
put.
think that is a good way to look at it too. Like, it is such a good. And it still, for me, it still goes back to I just don't like the actors that they chose for it. It's just me personally. I think they're both. Maybe this is me having to accept that I'm 31 now and that teenagers are different, and that I don't really like youth. But to me, they just seem very. They just
Get hip with the program, Matt. Get
Yeah.
hip with the program. You got to get.
I am
get,
so happy
text text away. No, I do always the younger the wee ones in my family, when they're at the dinner table, I always insist that they put away their phones. If you can put Curzon into Odo, why couldn't you put Gray in a synth body? I forgot that Curzon was in Odo. That's funny.
Oh, yeah.
Most of Paul's frozen faces look sad.
That's just my regular
That's just-
face.
That's just who he is.
I'm glad Gray as Ghost Friend is over. Bring on Gray the synth. Yeah, it's true. I think you know, one thing I will say is that even though I do like the Gray and Adira storyline, I wonder why Discovery keeps doing these like resurrections. Like, it's really kind
Especially
of
for the LGBTQIA community.
Yeah,
Plus, by the way,
yeah.
you know, we keep getting killed
killed
and brought back to
and
life.
then brought
your
back to life. Yeah,
No,
like-
it's the kill your gaze.
right,
trope.
but then
And-
it's
no,
but
it's also
Discovery does
the-
a new thing, which
wait.
is kill your gays and then bring them back to life.
Let's also point out the commander, the first officer that was killed today,
Had a partner.
had a partner who was a man. They had two
Mm.
children. Oh, look, another kill your gaze.
Oh wow,
Like,
that's interesting. I didn't even think
Yeah,
about that.
no,
Wow.
Discovery does kill your gaze more than anything else. So, if anything, it's honoring Roddenberry's tradition of not having gays on the.
That's weird. All right, so I think we
No, I'm
covered.
sorry, not Roddenberry. Rick Berman's
tradition.
insistence that gays would tank Voyager, besides Kate Mulgrew's fervent argument that they should have a gay character.
Well,
Anyway.
if anybody would know anything about tanking Voyager, it's Rick Berman. So
He was too focused on tanks and not enough on Voyager.
We'll have a Voyager discussion soon. I think that, once I finish it, we'll have to have an epic Voyager.
You
I
seriously
will
have to
take-
do that. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous
I
you
will
have to do
totally-
that.
hey, can we have a Star Trek Insurrection conversation? I've been like chomping at the bit to talk about. I want to watch it again, but like
I
I've
love
been
that
chomping
movie,
at
by the way.
bit to talk about Insurrection. I love it too. I love
Yes,
it too.
sweet, sweet.
What is
All
Matt?
right, so we'll.
Uh,
All right,
You wanna-
show.
Do you wanna? Do you wanna?
Is
have
it
a-
is
do you
it
wanna have a
shooting
Star
at the
Trek
Sona
Insurrection?
collector? Is that what's
Let me
going on
see.
there?
Is that what it
That's
is?
cool.
No, it's the Borg. It's first contact.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh, but it's cool.
I love that the phasers are helping it stand up.
Yeah, because it's a shitty model.
That's really cool. Before we end the stream, I think we covered every aspect of this episode. We like really went all into it. Was there anything else that any of you guys had to say about this episode before we I guess
yes,
let's go
I
into
did.
the closing thoughts. I'm just gonna say I was gonna give this episode a 10.
No.
But we can.
But you guys did. Well, you guys did bring up really good points, and now it's got me thinking. So I'm gonna give it a 9.5 as my final rating. But I still really enjoyed this. I thought that this episode it surprised me because I thought we were gonna have more of the same, and it just felt like they like really mixed it up and did
I
something
wish we had more of
different.
the same. Sorry.
No, I'm glad we didn't. Like I just don't. I'm like tired of like. I'm tired of like universe ending anomalies and like like stress, and I mean there was stress, but like it was like more about like handling stress, and something that I just feel like I don't know how to articulate it, but like I don't want to say this. The phrase that comes to mind is it felt like Star Trek, but that's such a stupid thing to say because it's always been Star Trek. But this has felt the most like previous this felt like it like honored the tried and true tropes a little more than Discovery usually does. That's I think what I wanted to say. And so yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I'm looking forward to the next one. I do think there were opportunities. Of course there's always opportunities, but I think this was probably I think the first 3 episodes are really strong, and I'm very curious now more about the anomaly because it's not what Stamets thought. So now I want to know what it is. So they like did a good job of at least making me as the audience go, oh, it's not a baby wormhole. What is it? What is this thing? What is the anomaly?
But let's also point out that they introduced the baby wormhole thing this episode.
Yeah,
so
they
it
did.
wasn't like it burst anyone's bubble.
But I liked it. I was getting all excited about like what's gonna come through when it finally hatches. Like is it like as a
maybe
full wormhole?
Egg. Maybe it's a space egg. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, that would be really
maybe
good.
It's the 28,000 of the Dominion. This is a new wormhole.
It could
Pops
be.
them through Dominion War version 2. Cisco returns.
And then he restores Quajon. He's like, what? I blew up a planet? I'm going to restore it. I'm a god. I can restore it. It would be so cool. All right, so that...
Marcelo was gonna say.
Yeah, Marcelo, and then give us your final thoughts and ratings.
Well, first of all, I just want to say something. All the points that the panel made today about how weak Star Trek Discovery's writing is valid. But for me personally, I'm always biased when it comes to Discovery because it's created by one of my favorite writers of all time. So I kind of put on blinders.
Remember this, yeah.
So I just want to, I just want to say that every opportunity I get.
Wait, do you like the Mummy?
Oh God.
No. Okay.
No, Alex has had a couple bad days at the office, and I count the Mummy as his bad day at the office.
Yeah.
I consider it Discovery. It's fine.
Oh no!
You say tomato, I say
tomato, whatever. And the other thing that that the panel pointed out that I didn't realize. So that was an actual bar that they were at. I thought that was a hologram.
No, it's actually the transporter room set.
Oh, okay.
It's true. That's true.
No,
that is true.
They redressed it for Giorgio's quarters in Terra Firma, parts 1 and 2, by adding like a window and stuff like that. And it's basically just that. They don't need the transporter room anymore because of their tricoms. So it's now
which do still work off of a central Heisenberg compensator.
Apparently, yes. But
is
yeah,
true.
the bar is just the transporter room.
Yeah. And if I had to give a grade to this episode, I thought that it had so much potential, but I was really disappointed with it. And I'll give it a 3.
Ooh.
Wow, that's pretty low.
Really going down.
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of felt that, but I didn't know it was going to be like that low. That's interesting. Paul, do you want to go next?
Okay, sure. Well, I mean, I already kind of, I kind of
you already gave your closing thoughts.
Overarching thoughts from the get-go. I still like the show. Like there's something about the show that it's got like a lot of charm, and I care about the characters. And it's been 4 years, so I'm like
invested.
I'm invested. Exactly. Yeah, and it always has cool toys and like eye candy. So again, I don't hate Discovery. I do think that it's like my favorite bad show, and yeah, I got one over here myself.
Are these like participation trophies for saying nice things about Discovery? Because that's the only reason I would want one.
Well, send me your address in the DM.
I think this was.
I'm sure I can make a better kit bash out of that.
I actually have the NXO one over there.
Nice.
Oh, I see the Enterprise.
Wait, are we
D
showing
over
off
there,
our worst models?
No, I can't get it. So
but carry on. So you're gonna say, so you're invested and you like.
I'm invested. Look, and I like this episode. I thought that like the pacing was good, and like I liked just spending time with certain characters. And yeah, like the Quatmalat storyline could have been its own storyline, and the Gray getting incorporating could have been its own storyline. And what was the other one that I'm missing? There's one more. Book finally reconciling his grief. Could have been its own storyline.
And maybe episode 4. Maybe that's my agreement that like books. I do kind of after this conversation hope it's not the end. Like maybe we get a little more. But yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Maybe the end. But like I think that the bulk of that journey might be over, and that we will see him transition into a different mode, which is good because again, grieving Book isn't interesting to me. But I did think this was like a little bit of like okay, we have these like loose ends that we need to tie up, so we're just going to throw them into this episode and hope they work, and then walk away, which sucks, because I did want the Gray storyline to mean something, but as Text Trek is pointing out, it might actually mean something to somebody else, and it doesn't mean something to me because I'm not a transgender individual, who feels, disembodied or, disincorporated or however the Star Trek, terminology wants to make it. So again, like Discovery is a very flawed show, and this was a very flawed episode, but I really enjoyed it.
If you had to give it a rating, what would you give it?
I think I gave it like a 6 for the premiere, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I think.
No, like the premiere, I said like a 6.
Oh yeah, you did say 6. I think
So maybe I'll get this one a 7.
Cool.
You're going up.
Look at Matt's face. All right, Matt, take us out with your.
That doesn't make any sense. How can you be going up?
The ratings are by the gut. They can change. It's
okay,
like they're
right,
just
right.
they're like fleeting. They're not the least important. I will say Text Trek says something really important. And if I had known him before when I started the show, I would have never done ratings. And maybe I'll abolish ratings at one point. But so many people in the audience love the ratings. I don't. It's something about the ratings.
They're fun,
but
they mean nothing.
Yeah, they mean
like,
nothing.
Whose line is it anyway?
Yeah, exactly. But Text Trek said something that is really profound, which is how can you distill a whole conversation like where there's like ups and downs and like all ups and downs, haha, and then like all these other things like into just like a rating. It's like really hard to do, and they are, but I like them, and they're just like in the moment, and they change later on. It's fine. You're not held to your ratings. Matt, take us out.
My biggest thoughts on this, I think Discovery would do good having a I'm going to have to agree with that. But coming up to that, my biggest thing is Discovery could use a couple episodes where they're just on the ship. They're just living their life. It doesn't have to be a big thing. No one has to go to Red Alert. You don't even have to spore jump. Let that be the episode where Tilly realizes she's not okay. Let that be the episode that Gray gets a new body. Like, dive into that more. There doesn't need to be this overarching thing of Michael going out and saving the day again, and there has to be like, if they had just had a slice of life episode and it was focused on Gray's getting a body, Tilly doesn't know what to do. Like, focus on these smaller storylines. Bring it from one episode that it was like a planet was just destroyed. Book is dealing with his grief. Hey, that's still going on, but we're going to take it more microcosm and focus on the ship. Let us know what's going on. Let us know what's going on with the characters. I think it would have landed more. I'm fully in agreement that I love Gray's storyline as an allegory to the trans community. Still got to say that I'm not a huge fan of the actor, but that's just me. Again, we've said that maybe I'm just out of touch now.
No, you're not out of touch. He's a bad actor. Or at least he's giving a bad performance in this show.
This is the thing, is Adira and Gray, it's not the characters. I don't like the portrayals. Anyway, that's off topic. But I overall would say it was a decent episode. Like, it did feel very Star Trek. It felt very, I think there was a lot of missed tones. I think there were a lot of things that they went for and they didn't quite nail in the Star Trek way, but it felt better. And so I will give it, I'm going to say like a 5.3.
All right.
Cool.
I wasn't
All
happy
right.
with a lot of the executions, but again, I feel like I'm kind of Stockholm syndromed into Discovery.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's exactly
Like,
what it is.
it's-
Wow.
Stock-
It's Star Trek, and so I have
Guys,
to
it's
love
not
it,
that.
and I
It's
want to
not that
support it.
bad.
I just can't. I don't like the ships. I don't like
That's
the
the
writing. I
Romulan
don't
ale
like
speaking.
Why are you here? It's like,
Because
What do you
I
mean?
want to. I
Yeah,
want.
you
I
don't
love
wanna
the
be here.
sets.
Yeah, right.
I'm just excited for Picard. Like season 2 of Picard.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna be-
I mean,
I'll be
yeah.
lit.
You'll
We
be on the
gotta-
Picard
We're gonna be having the
discussion.
same-
Tens
No.
across the board.
No, we
We're gonna
gotta
be having the
no,
same
seriously.
conversations about Picard,
I-
though. Oh,
I
No.
just
could
want
be
to.
better.
I just want to answer Marcelo's question. Why are you here? I do enjoy discourse.
I was
don't.
kidding.
Yeah, I don't mind people
I
not
was
liking
kidding.
the show. I do.
Listen.
I do. I just don't. I think that like there. I think that like there's just like a way to have the discourse, I guess, and you guys do it well. So thank you.
No, but seriously, I was kidding.
I'm just here to interrupt
The
you.
alcohol.
Yeah.
The alcohol I always have a big glass of wine.
But I mean, you do always try to find the silver lining or the positive, and it's cool. Like there's always a balance. in
Because
that
that's what Star Trek's
is-
about.
Ooh.
Does anyone have anything this week to promote for the audience to go check out?
Yeah,
I got some cups to sell.
Yes, please. Oh yes, can you
Yes.
can you
that's
promote them,
serious.
please? I got one. It's coming soon.
I wish I had something to like show, but I don't. I have a shop. My husband and I make ceramics. We're selling our iridescent cups. So it's
Beautiful.
sutherlandsanto.com/store. You can buy a cup. They're horribly overpriced, but they take a lot of work. So sorry.
I'm gonna update the link with a description, so if anyone wants, they can go check it out. But you could go if you follow any of us on Twitter, you can check our timeline, and it's there too. So check that out. Marcelo, what have you got going on this week on your various endeavors?
Yeah, well, every Friday I release a new episode of Radio 815. It's a podcast dedicated to the greater J.J. Abrams universe, and we just finished talking. I'm getting lost. So yeah, we're actually making our way through Lost season 5 at the moment. So if you all want to see me gush about JJ and see how much I love him, you can pretty much find that podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
I have a J.J.
Excellent.
Abrams story for you.
Oh yeah, come on, give me one.
Okay. All right. So I did a lot of extra work when I first moved to LA. And when Star Trek 2009 was casting, that was like way in the rear view mirror, but I put myself up for it because I wanted to be in Star Trek. And one of the rules in being an extra is the director can't talk to you. It's a weird rule. I don't really understand it, but the director can't
That's so
talk to
weird.
you. JJ on the set of Star Trek not only talked to you and gave you directions, but he also would approach you. At least he approached me. Hey, what's your name? I'm JJ. And then,
That's so cool.
Does he call himself JJ?
yeah, he does. And
Yeah.
then
That's
he remembers your name for the entire shoot. At least I was there for 3 days. He remembered my name on day 3
Wow.
after asking it on day 1. And I thought that was the most impressive, like welcoming, like that set was the happiest set I think I've ever been on. And it was
that's great.
because the tone he set.
Yeah, it's
Anyway.
wonderful. You know who's like that too? I've heard. Tom Cruise has a similar deal. Like he'll talk to anybody on set, and anybody that he talks to on set, he'll like remember their name throughout the entire shoot.
Well, that's also
Um,
part of the Scientology,
Yeah.
recruitment. So he has to make
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I didn't go there. You did.
okay,
No,
sorry.
but seriously,
Sorry.
yeah, and I also, if I could promote one more thing, I also have my personal YouTube channel, Balloonhead Productions, where I do reviews about Sherlock, the original Mission Impossible series from the 60s, and a bunch of other stuff too. So go and check me out there.
Everyone check that out. Thank you, folks, for joining us. Thank you, gentlemen. You are wonderful for coming on here every week and talking about Star Trek. I really appreciate you so much. Thank you, audience. You've been wonderful in participating. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your comment. I'll try to get to it in the afterplay. I like to look back and see what I missed, so I'll check it out. Next up on Starfleet Boy is Saturday. We're talking about Star Trek, and well, we'll just say it's a debated episode. So
I want to know, what is it?
The Paradise Syndrome. So we have someone who's going to stand for it in the audience, though. So that's good. So check it out Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and or Eastern Time. I think it is just Eastern Time now. And tomorrow, check out Text Trek, as we already said, and we'll be doing Starfleet Boy after dark tomorrow night sometime around 11 p.m. Last week we did a watch along for the 35th anniversary of Star Trek 4. So maybe, Paul, one of these nights we can do a watch along of Insurrection. That might be a fun way to talk about it while we're watching.
I'm still trying to make Paul get drunk with me and watch Insurrection, and he still won't do it. So
maybe we'll talk offline if it can work out. Maybe that'll be this week's Starfleet Boy After Dark.
Literally December 11th. December 11th is the anniversary. So
what day does that fall on?
I think it's Sunday, next Sunday.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
We should do the Final Frontier.
Okay, well, we'll figure out our dates. Who knows? Whenever you're watching the stream, it could be Saturday or Sunday. Live long and prosper, everyone. Thank you, and we will see you next time.